It was supposed to be another night of intense combat, another night of walkouts, blood, and highlight reel finishes inside the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But as Isaac Dulgarian stepped into the cage against Yadier del Valle at UFC Vegas 110, something didn't feel right. Even before the first punch was thrown, betting markets across multiple sportsbooks began to shift in ways no one could explain. Odds changed sharply. Lines moved quickly. And insiders watching the numbers in real time started asking the same question: who knew something the public didn't? The moment the cage door closed, tension filled the arena. The crowd roared, but behind the noise was a quiet storm brewing inside the data. Within days, this ordinary matchup had triggered alerts across Nevada regulators, and even the FBIA's simple fight had somehow become a potential integrity case. What happened that night? And how deep does the UFC's betting problem go? Number 5. The fight that sparked questions. The fight itself lasted less than a single round. Isaac Dulgarian entered the night as a respected prospect, someone the UFC had invested in and who carried legitimate hype. But just hours before the bout began, odds makers noticed something strange. A sudden wave of heavy betting money poured in on the underdog, Yadier del Valle. Del Valle wasn't expected to dominate, wasn't known as a knockout machine, and wasn't a popular pick among fans, yet the line continued to swing dramatically in his favor. For sportsbooks, this wasn't normal market movement. This wasn't the usual last-minute bets from fans. It looked sharp, it looked targeted, and it looked like someone knew more than they should have. Then came the finish. Dulgarian fell early, stopped in violent fashion. The fight ended so quickly that analysts barely had time to register what happened, and before the MMA community could catch its breath, another shockwave followed. Dulgarian was quietly released from his UFC contract almost immediately after the event. Number 4. The shadow of James Krause. The UFC had been here before. This wasn't unfamiliar territory. Back in 2022, the organization was shaken by one of the largest betting scandals in combat sports history. At the center of it stood James Krause, former fighter, respected coach, and well-known figure in the MMA world. Krause openly operated betting chats, gave advice on wagers, and presented himself as someone who understood both the sport and the lines that shaped it. But everything changed when his fighter, Darrick Minner, entered a bout with a severe injury, an injury the public didn't know about. Minutes before the fight, betting lines swung violently. Bettors started wagering heavily on Minner losing early. The fight ended quickly, and immediately, the red flags lit up across every major sports book. Investigators soon discovered that Krause had been the hub for unusual betting activity. His fighters, including Jeff Molina and Minner, were tied to patterns that suggested inside information had influenced wagers. What followed was one of the harshest crackdowns the UFC had ever issued. Fighters associated with Krause were suspended indefinitely. Number 3. The pattern emerges. Fast forward to 2025. Dulgarian's fight suddenly looked eerily familiar to the patterns seen during the Krause era: the betting swing, the early stoppage, the aftermath. Regulators immediately flagged the event for review, and sources confirmed that the FBI's Sports Integrity Task Force had taken interest. While no official statement ever linked Dulgarian or Del Valle to wrongdoing, insiders familiar with betting markets insisted that the signs were unmistakable. For analysts, the data told its own story. Money doesn't move in silence. Odds don't shift without reason. And in an age where real-time technology tracks every bet down to the minute, anomalies stand out like flares in the night sky. The betting boom. The truth is, the UFC's challenge didn't come from fighters or coaches. It came from the explosion of sports betting across the United States. As legalization expanded from state to state, sportsbooks became part of everyday sports culture. Millions of new bettors entered the markets, and combat sports, with their sudden knockouts and unpredictable outcomes, became a goldmine for wagering. Unlike team sports, where dozens of players influence each result, a fight can change with a single mistake, a single injury, or a single punch. That makes MMA uniquely vulnerable to manipulation or the perception of it. Fighters in the lower ranks often make modest pay. Coaches and staff sometimes earn even less. Meanwhile, high-level bettors and insiders can win or lose thousands on one round of action. Number 1. Did the UFC dodge a bullet? Behind the scenes, the UFC has quietly strengthened its partnerships with gaming commissions, data firms, and federal investigators. Every event now includes deeper analytics, internal audits, and reports designed to track irregularities long before they explode into headlines. Some insiders believe the organization narrowly avoided a much larger scandal, one that could have impacted sponsorships, state licensing, pay-per-view markets, and the trust of fans. The Dulgarian fight may have been small, but its consequences could have been massive. If the betting surge had gone viral, if regulators had found more troubling connections, or if journalists had exposed deeper issues, the fallout could have shaken the entire promotion. Instead, the moment passed quietly. The fighters moved on. The event faded from the spotlight, but regulators didn't forget, and neither did the data. While the UFC remains untouched for now, there is a growing sense that this won't be the last time suspicious betting patterns appear. The combination of money, violence, and insider information creates a high-risk environment, and as long as gambling continues to grow, the temptation won't disappear. It simply waits for the next opportunity. The cage is supposed to decide who the better fighter is. It's supposed to be the place where skill, training, and heart determine the outcome. If you want more deep dives into the hidden stories behind sports, scandals, and the world of combat, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode of Sports Crime Stories.